Alright, time limited event, endless projections. We can access this over here on the main screen. Head over to time limited events and click on this tab on the upper right corner that says endless projections. Okay, so there are 5 stages in total, but stages 1 to 4 are divided into 2 or 3 phases. There's also this mechanic where deploying our dolls costs energy, which limits a certain doll's deployment to only 2 usage per stage. Now for stages 1 and 2, there's only 2 phases, so we can clear those with a single team. However, on stages 3 and 4, there is a third phase, so if you use your main team on phase 1 and 2, then you can't deploy them anymore for phase 3 due to the energy cost mechanic. This leads to you needing a second batch of dolls to deploy, and unfortunately, not everybody have a second team yet at this point of time. So, as a workaround, you can strategically divide 6 of your dolls into groups of 3. Let's say, for example, the only dolls that are available to you are Kolfni, Lotta, Nemesis, Chongju, Vepli, and Shikri. Then you can put 4 of them on the first team, take away any of the 2 dolls, then replace them with your 5th and 6th doll for the second team, then compile the rest for the last team. This will make it so that instead of 8 dolls, you will only need 6. You can also make use of another method on stage 3, which is to tally your mission points after clearing phase 2. Once you've cleared phase 1 and 2, you can actually tally your overall points to reset your projection space phase progress. But your mission progress will remain untouched. This means that your doll's initial energy will also reset, so you can reuse them to clear phase 1 and 2 for the second time, where you'll then reach the rest of the milestones. That's going to be all 700 points in total, and you can then proceed to the next stage. Stage 4, on the other hand, requires you to clear phase 3 if and only if you want to get all the rewards. Otherwise, you can just clear phase 1 and 2, tally your points, and unlock the next stage because you only need 550 points to get to stage 5. Now, the question is if this content is clearable as free-to-play. Technically, it is clearable as free-to-play, and in fact, for the most part, I only used Nemesis, Groza, Kolfni, Lotta, and Vepli, alternating between Groza and Nemesis depending on the stage. I have the stages 1 to 4 full clears posted, so if you want to use them as reference, feel free to do so. Needless to say, my dolls are decently built, with each having 3 of their fixed keys, proper weapon attachment sets with good enough substats. Most of them are also calibrated ones for the stat boost, and their minimum doll and weapon levels are at 40. If I were to name an MVP among these dolls, then it would definitely be Lotta, because there's a lot of enemies that are clumped together in these stages, so spamming her ultimate plus Confectance Index recharge skill is very easy to do. So does this mean that if you don't have Lotta or haven't built her, then you can clear the stages? No, not at all. While I do recommend that you bring her for all of your runs, I'm not saying that she is a must-have to clear endless projections as free-to-play. You can simply replace her with your best DPS, possibly Chongju, Tololo, or even Shikri, and clear the stages using a different approach from mine. The bottom line here is that you can reach the final stage even with only 5 or 6 well-built characters. An exception to this, however, is how I used a separate team to clear stage 4's phase 3 because I still have my main dolls, but like I said, you don't need to do that if you really don't have any extra dolls to spare. Alright, moving on to stage 5 or the boss stage. For this one, it will require us to deploy 6 dolls, and some of the missions are purely DPS checks, but we can actually get up to 1,400 points in total, even as free-to-play. The reason for that is because the projection points here is also cumulative, so you can just keep on repeating the stage on auto battle to reach the milestones for the easier missions. The easy ones will net you 500 mission score, and we can also farm tactical score the same way. Mission score and tactical score are 2 separate score counts, but summing up both of them will give you your total projection points. So, how do we actually get tactical points? As stated on the description, they are earned by achieving special conditions during battles. What conditions specifically? I'm not really sure since the notice for added points just randomly pops out during the battle. I'm only guessing here, but it could be when you deal a certain amount of damage, surviving this amount of turns, inflicting this or that amount of debuffs, casting ultimate skills, or even just simply attacking the boss. No further details are mentioned, so we can only guess what these special conditions are. But there's really no need to find them out either, since you can just deploy 6 of your dolls and have them fight the boss on auto battle. For your reference, I used Groza, Nemesis, Vepli, Lotta, Kolfni, and Sharkry for my runs, and it took me exactly 10 runs on auto battle to get 1350 points, which unlocks the second highest reward for this stage. Both tactical and mission score have 900 points as the limit, hence why we can only get up to 1400 points as free to play. To unlock the last reward, we need to reduce the boss's HP to below 40%, and that's pretty much impossible for those who haven't spent on the game. No worries though, since even if you don't manage to do that, we'll only be missing out on 60 collapse pieces and 2 precision boost chips, which, to be fair, isn't really that much of a loss. Again, this is a time-limited event, so I highly recommend that you clear as much as you can, because it's fairly easy once you get the hang of it. I will show you the last auto battle run that I did for stage 5, just a form of proof that it's really possible to get 1400 points, even with auto battle and as free to play.
次の舞台は可愛い系で行くか。
巨翼を持つ鳥の群れ。
くない痛くない反抗するなんてね今度は引かないみんなポンポンみんな上げていくよ撃ってみんな元気を出して
ポンクスの玉結び。
痛くない痛くない
逃げられると思う。
準備万端イエーイイエーイ
消去。
痛くない痛くない反抗するなんてね今度は今行きます次はどれイエーイポンポン着地成功
消去。
どいて反抗するなんてね準備万端みんな元気を出して痛くない痛くない
逃げられると思う。
今度は準備万端ポンポン
行くわよ。
ショータイム
ポンクスの玉結び。
どいて
行くわよ。
今度は時間がない
行くわよ。
ショータイム
消去。
痛くない痛くない
ターゲット確認。
準備万端ポンポン
ポンクスの玉結び。
痛くない痛くない反抗するなんてね今度は引かないパーフェクト
了解よ。
準備万端
森を設計世死暴風新暦